Am I at the beginning of a learning curve? And if so, what does that mean? How do I figure out if I am? And what do I do about hurrying up the curve? Thanks for telling me that. For those of you who are new to the channel, a quick introduction of me. My name is Whit, and I live in 2 different cities. My wife lives in Austin. My kids are full-time in Portland, and I fly back and forth. This is much like Romeo and Juliet.
2 households both alike in dignity, and fair Verona is where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these 2 foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life.
That actually doesn't sound too much like us now that I think about it. Shakespeare really gives away like the whole play within the first few lines, doesn't he? By the end of this video, I will tell you that I'm not sponsored by Alaska Airlines, but I'd like to be. Just so you can learn a little bit more about me, I was in Romeo and Juliet when I was in high school. I was either one of the Montagues or the Perigrees. What are the other names? Montague and Capulet? Capulet. I did it. That was me. I didn't look it up. I got to be in a sword fight with the one and only Ady Barkan. You know, the Ady Barkan who like sat in front of Congress to make sure that health legislation got passed. I gotta get my act together. Learning curves are interesting. You know, you don't really know you're in it sometimes. You're just like beginning, or maybe you do. Like when I started building tiny houses, I knew I had no idea what I was doing, but I just decided to get into it because I was working with a friend who was an engineer and I trusted him and we just went for it. All right, here it is. This is what we call the front door, but really you can call either side the front. This will be the shed, which is going to have the propane tanks and electrical. This is the other front, perhaps the back. A window, 8 feet, 9 feet. Door. So much has happened since then. I feel very qualified to build tiny houses or vans at this point, and so I feel like I'm at the upward slant of the learning curve for vans and tiny houses and a lot of other building stuff. But I was thinking about it recently, and I feel like I may be at the beginning of a learning curve in my business in general. And because the business feels like it's about to get much bigger for me, I feel like I'm at the start of a lot of little learning curves. Running the business, the brand, the projects that I'm working on, who I'm working with, and how to start working with them. In my life, it matters to me that everything is intertwined. I don't want work to just feel like work and outside of work to feel like outside of work. I want everything to just feel good and right. So I'm leaning into these relationships where it all feels balanced. Another place that I got to hang out with some friends and talk work was bowling. I have a new friend there. His name is Dennis, and he is a super talented photographer and videographer. And I learned that he's been learning a lot about YouTube, spending time making multiple shows. He's thrown himself into studying YouTube. It made me realize that I really want to go down the same rabbit hole. It was a rabbit hole that I went down when I started building tiny houses. And now I've got this friend who's already started it, and he's telling me, you should listen to these podcasts. You should watch these videos. And it's really helpful for the beginning of this YouTube learning curve. Also about bowling, whenever there's a red pin set down as the front pin in this league, everyone yells, "Red pin!" And then if you knock it over, everyone in the league gives you $1. I did it twice this week and made like, I don't know, 40 bucks. Now this brings me to another one of the learning curves, which is my business and what do I want to turn this into? This being S'more Life. This is a really cool conversation that I have been having with a lot of friends. What is my business? Where am I headed? What are my goals? And one person that I got to talk to this week is my new friend Matt, who my lovely wife works with. He has donated some of his time over tacos to talk with me about my business and the direction that it's headed. I'm really excited to be able to use his expertise to help guide me through the process of my brand, my business, and the direction that I want it to head. Having somebody who thinks about this for work sit down and take the time to listen to me and brainstorm is so valuable. And even though I have done 7 years of building, I have realized that there's the start of a new learning curve in my building career also. It is bringing on skilled workers, people who know more than me, getting their advice, hiring them, and having them help me move things forward. A good example of this last week was having David come by and help me think through the electrical in the Concorde, the bus that I'm working on in Austin. And getting to chat with somebody like David helps me work through the process. Another example of reaching out for help is that I know that I can build the furniture that's going into the Concorde. Instead, I reached out to my brother-in-law, Britton, who owns a company called Luckstone Woodshop, and he builds custom cabinetry and other pieces of furniture. While I know that I could do the furniture, I know that it would be a lot better coming from him and his shop. The fact that he was able to just go into his office, sketch this up, send it off from his computer to his employee's computer over at the CNC machine, literally lay down a scrap piece of plywood that they have, cut out the edges of this bench, and then, he whipped it together in maybe 30 minutes. We had a small bench as an example of what we would use. He was able to take the idea and turn it into a seat for us almost immediately. It was incredible. Part of this learning curve is recognizing what I can do versus what I should do. And what I get to provide is the knowledge of when somebody else should do something, and the client gets a better product because of it. I'm excited to be able to provide this because I want the end product to be as good as possible. I love what these women who are building the Concorde are doing, and I want them to have the best product they can have, and hiring Luckstone is definitely the way to do it. I think where I'm getting at with this is that I know that there's a next step, but I don't know what it is, which leads me to believe that I'm at the beginning of a learning curve, and I need to figure out what everything in it is. Like I said at the beginning, it is my brand, it's my business, video production, building collaborations and brand partnerships, and who I can work with to build those. Some shall be pardoned and some shall be punished. For never was a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo. And I'm still not sponsored by Alaska, but I'd like to be. Thanks for being here and thanks for subscribing. I could be in work, or I could stop doing work and I could hang out with my friends, or I'll be hanging out with friends in work because I'm working with friends.